Good morning, 6th graders. It's lovely to talk to you, although it might be afternoon for some of you guys. I wanted to do a shout out to Nathan A., Presley, and Ben. I appreciate the hard work that you guys did on your character cards for Anne Frank. They're very, very nice. Alright, so let's get started. Today, you guys are going to learn how to format your research paper using the MLA standards. Now, I use this all through my school. Now, I don't think I used it in elementary school because we didn't type papers in elementary school. We wrote them in cursive and we wrote them in black pen. So, very, very different, but definitely in high school and all through college. Although, to be honest, I think it was mostly college for me because that's how old I am. But in high school, in college, I did my junior college, and then I went to university, and then I did my credentials. So I was in school for a long time, and with the exception of one paper, every paper was formatted in the MLA format. Okay, the other one was APA, and that's used by a different branch of study. But every other one was MLA. So you're going to use this probably your whole life. It's very easy. MLA stands for Modern Language Association, and it's just so documentation is all in the same format. It's easier to read, it's easier to find, and yeah, so just a couple quick steps today. It's 7 different steps that you're going to do to make sure your paper is formatted the same. Please don't veer from these. You won't get marked off if you do. I will mention it to you when I give you your final grade. But I want you to practice doing this because you will need it for junior high, absolutely. And it'll be nice if you already know it. Now, MLA, the formatting that I'm going to give you guys today is different than what I did because they update it every year. They change maybe the margins they want different, or they find an even more streamlined way to do it. So in a couple years, it might change, but your teachers will keep you up to date on the newest forms of that. All right. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is margins, and that is the distance around all of the text in your paper, the top, the right and left, and the bottom. And some of you guys know how to get there already, and there's a couple different ways that you can do that. I like to go to Layout, and then Margins is over here on the side. And you're going to leave it at normal. When I do my Monday letters or I do paperwork for you guys, sometimes I'll go as small as it'll let me go so I can fit as much text on one page as possible. But we're going to do normal, and it's 1 inch all around. Now, I remember in high school or college when I was doing MLA, they had different inch requirements on each side, and it was really complicated. But they finally just made it easier and said, let's just do 1 inch on each side. Totally easy, and you don't even have to set it. The computer will do it for you. You just click on it automatically. It'll leave 1 inch from the top, 1 inch from the sides, and 1 inch from the bottom. Okay, so again, you go to Layout, Margins, and then Normal. Okay, it's done, and you can't see it, but it's done. Now, if you have your ruler up here on Microsoft Word, it will show you there's a gray area on each side of the ruler where you can't type for 1 inch on either side. But if you clicked it, then it's already set. The next thing would be your font. And you can just right click and kind of do that too for font. But up here, you're going to go to Times New Roman. And I know that always disappoints students every year, even when I taught 4th and 5th and we typed. The kids all want to pick a special font. I think for your autobiographies, I gave you guys a couple of choices, but that ends today. Times New Roman is the standard. I know it's boring, but your research paper needs to be legible, and it needs to be formal. So we're going to use Times New Roman, and we're not going to go any bigger than 12. That's standard. We're not going to go smaller, and we're not going to go bigger. When I was in college and we had to do the MLA formatting, we would put page numbers, and we would even do in-text citations, and those would be a different size font. So it was really complicated when I was in college. So much easier now. You guys are lucky. All right, so we talked about font, Times New Roman, 12 point. Now we're going to talk about your header, and that's on top. And it's kind of something you guys come across accidentally if you didn't know it was there. So you can double click up here, anywhere in the top or even the bottom will give you the footer, but up here, and it gives you this kind of like no man's land where you're not allowed to type usually, but you're telling the computer, I want to put something up here. Okay, and for MLA formatting for a research paper, you're going to put your last name and page number. And once you double click up here, you have a whole new toolbar for your header. The footer just goes on the bottom, okay? But we're not going to deal with the footer for this paper, just the header, which is on top of your paper. So you're going to go to page number, top of page, because that's where I want it. And I got to go all the way over here, because if I go down, my little options change. So make sure you stay up here and then come down. I don't want it over there. I don't want it to the left. I don't want it center. I want it right. Plain number. And there's other options, but you don't need them. Okay, I'm going to click there, and it's going to put my page number over here because this is the first page of my research paper. MLA format says you need to have the last name of the person writing the paper. So this is me, Henderson, and then a space. Okay, and that will be on each subsequent page, and I don't have to do anything. Some papers will require you to do something different. I know in college, I keep going back to that. I don't think we did it on the first page, but we had to do it on other pages, the second, third, and the following pages. So leave this how it is. You don't have to worry about changing this. And once it's kind of a set it and forget it, I'm going to double click down here to get it to go away. And it's there. And you can tell it's grayed out because you're not supposed to type up there unless you tell your computer, hey, I'm going to type up there. And I'm just going to scroll down to my second page, and it's there automatically. If I had a 20-page paper, which you will do in college, then it's already there. You don't have to worry about it. All right. So now we're going to talk about double spacing your paper. Everything needs to be double spaced, and there's several ways to go about doing that. If you already had text, you could highlight it and right-click and go to paragraph. Or you can go right up here where it says paragraph. And I'm going to click this little arrow, and it's going to give me a drop-down menu. Okay. Right now it's set at multiple. Well, we want double, right? Just click that, and then you're going to click OK. But I also want to show this to you guys. Don't add space between paragraphs of the same style. A lot of times when I get research papers and you guys have, what, 5 or 6 paragraphs in it, there's like way extra space in between paragraphs. The kids aren't quite sure how much space to do. And unfortunately, Word is set up to do that automatically. I don't want any extra space. Even between paragraphs, so in between lines in your paragraph, it'll be double spaced. But even in between paragraphs, we don't want an extra space because you're going to indent, so I know that you're going to be on a new paragraph. We don't need, a whole extra inch in between. So do make sure that you click that. Do make sure that you click that, okay? And then, okay. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and do the whole paper set up to be double spaced. So now we're going to do the heading. And again, we're going to go up to our header. Actually, I'm sorry, I take that back. We're going to start right here where the cursor is, okay? And it's set for you right here at left align. And you're going to follow these directions exactly. Now, it is a little bit different than I had you guys do your autobiography because we weren't doing MLA format, so it's going to go on the left side, and you're going to put your name. Oops. Did you guys notice what happened? I was not in Times New Roman. I was not in 12-point font. Even though I set it up here, for some reason it didn't save it over here. So always make sure. I'm going to come back up here and change it. So I don't get a bad grade on my paper. Okay, so, it's also bold. Definitely don't want that. Okay. And I'll tell you guys why it was set like that, but. Alright, so Casey Henderson, that's my first and last name. I'll go ahead and leave it that way, even though I'm going to add something else. Underneath, if you're in college, and I'm going to have you guys do it today for practice, you're going to put your instructor's name. Okay? You can put Mrs. Henderson. I know it's the same here, but it's logical that I might have a student with the same last name. I haven't had it yet, surprisingly, but someday I'll probably have a student with the last name Henderson. So you're going to have your name, the teacher's name. Now, if you were in college, you might put Professor Henderson. If I had a doctorate, you would put Dr. Henderson. I don't, so you don't have to do that. And then the next one is the class. In college, you would definitely need it because your instructors will probably teach, your math teacher might teach multiple types of math, algebra or geometry or statistics. Your language arts teachers might, creative writing or English literature. So they might have multiple classes, so it will help them. If you're in English 101, you're going to put English 101. If you're in creative writing, you would put creative writing. Right now, you guys are just going to put language arts because that's what my class is, and that's just practice. The next one's the date, and this is one of the big reasons that we follow MLA formatting, because if I said, okay guys, put the date, I would get all kinds of stuff. I would get some of the months would be abbreviated. Now May, we don't abbreviate, but let's say it was February, I would get February. I would get it all spelled out. I'd get it misspelled. Somebody might put a 2 in front, right? It's chaos. And when you're writing a paper, it needs to be very formatted, again, and very formal. And we're actually going to do the date the way they do in Europe. It's just the way that it's done. It's one of those things where they say to do it, and you just got to do it. So the day actually goes first. Even though it's May, I'm not going to put May. Not first anyway. And if you do look, Microsoft Word will give you options. Don't do it, okay? Because it doesn't know that you're writing a paper. You're going to put the day first. Your paper's due the 22nd of May, 2020. And if you'll notice, there's no commas. I know it looks weird, but this is MLA formatting. So everybody's paper should look this way. The only difference is obviously your name would be your name. And let's say, who can I use as an example? Carter's usually pretty good. Let's put Carter Montre, and he would have C14 because he's a cougar. Okay, so that's the only addition that I would add for you guys is go ahead and put your student number. In the video that helped me prepare for this video for you guys when I researched it, I misspelled my own name because I was talking and writing. In the video, he gave a college example. You may put your seat number. In college, sometimes professors arrange a seat for you, and that's your seat number, and that just helps them identify you. And so you might add that there, but in this case, it's just language arts. Okay? Your name first and last, my name, the class name, and then the date. My last name's pretty easy to spell, but I can tell you guys one of my very first classes in college. Now remember, I didn't type a paper until my senior year in high school, and it was on a friend's computer. It wasn't even our computer. So I was really new to typing and MLA formatting and all that. So my professor's name was Schwankel or Schwankel, I forget. And in my mind, I had sounded it out, and I wrote his name up here like I was supposed to for MLA, and I misspelled it. And he actually brought it up in class. He didn't call my name out, but he said, you know what, when you guys write a paper, make sure you know how to spell your professor's name. And I looked at my paper, and he had it circled, and oh my gosh, I was so embarrassed. And I remember that to this day. Still embarrassed that I did that I misspelled my teacher's name on a paper. So just make sure in the future, if you have a teacher's last name, like my name used to be Bejarano before I got married, and it's hard to spell. So you always want to make sure you know how to spell your teacher's name. All right. So we have our heading. Now we're going to do our title. Again, we're not having extra spaces. This is where the kids decide to kind of go AWOL. They will hit, enter 3 or 4 times, then they'll do their title, but you're just going to do it the one time because our paper is set up for double space. So enter, but for the most part, you guys know a title should be centered. So you're going to come up here to those lines that are shaped like this and hit center. And I'm going to give you guys some options. You're welcome to just do biography. You can do the person's name. I'll use Sadie's example, Sally Ride. You can do the thing that they're known for. So for her, the first woman in space. If it was Martin Luther King Jr., you could do civil rights leader. So I'm going to let you guys have some creativity on your title. Again, it can be just the word biography. It can be their first and last name, or it can be something that describes them. But I want you guys to notice there's no italics, there's no underlining, there's no bold, and I did not capitalize the word in. When you guys have a title, we just capitalize obviously the first word, even though that's an article. We're not going to capitalize those smaller prepositions. The first woman in space is going to be my title. Okay. That would be if I was Sadie, if she wanted to use that. Okay, and then I go to do my paper. I hit enter one more time. And I can't start typing there because I'm centered. I have to go back to my left align, and then we're going to indent. Now, I could indent on my ruler up here. You guys don't see my ruler, but you know that oftentimes I could fix it to where I have my ruler up here. And you can play with the measurements on the ruler, which is complicated. I don't suggest that. All you have to do is hit tab on your keyboard. So I can't show you that on my keyboard, but I can hit tab and boom, it's moved it over. Okay, so I would start typing. Okay, Sally Ride was the first woman in space, and then I would just keep typing, fill up my paragraph, and it's going to wrap it around, right? I'm a great typer, can you tell? Okay. It's actually really hard to not type words, to be honest. Keep typing, and it's not going to indent, right? It's going to go to the very end, and if you remember, we set our margins to 1 inch, so I could get my ruler out. There's 1 inch right there. Keep going. Sentences, and we'll say that's the end of my first paragraph, although that would not be for yours because it's way too short, but just to give you guys an idea. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to go to my next paragraph. And because we checked this little guy right there, it's just going to go to the very next line. And you're going to say, but how do they know it's a new paragraph? Well, you're going to indent again, right? And then you're going to have your transition to begin. Sally Ride was born. I don't know where she was born, but I'll read about it. And then you're going to keep going, right? And you just keep typing for your paper. I'm going to make it easier for me. A, B, C. There's my next paragraph. Super easy. Okay, I'm going to keep going. All right. There's my next paragraph. And I just keep typing. There's nothing else that you have to fix. We have our header with our page number. We have our label here with your class and my name and the date. And then right here we have the title of the paper. Okay, and I would just keep typing again. The next page is going to have your last name and it's going to have the page number. So I know it's frustrating. I remember being very frustrated, even having to type on a typewriter sometimes and measure out my margins because it had to be a certain way. This is just the standard. We just kind of have to accept it. We're so lucky to have a computer that just does most of the work for you. So it's really important to follow rules, follow directions. You'll need this your whole life. All through college, you'll have to format a paper, and it might be a different format, so you got to follow those rules. Okay? So just in case you would like to see all that in writing, I went ahead and put it, although a little bit too low. So again, this is MLA format, which stands for Modern Language Association. Your margins are 1 inch on all sides. Your font is Times New Romans. I should not have an S there. Sorry about that. It's 12 point. The header is going to include the page number and your last name. actually in opposite order, so your name and then the page number. You want to double space the whole paper, and that's easy. There's no extra spacing. If I remember right in college, there's different things had to be different spaced different ways, and you had to make sure you remembered to go back and do that. Super easy. Set it, forget it, double space. When you do your label, your name, instructor name, the class, and then the date, which is day, month, and year. The title is centered, nothing else special, and you're going to indent each paragraph. Now, I do want to say one more thing, because last year when I taught this for the first time, I looked back at student examples, and a lot of times this introductory paragraph, or even if they used a quote in that first one, they did all kinds of funny things. They would make this, really big because it was a quote. They might even put it, in quotation marks. Whoops. I don't know why it's doing that, but they would do funny things with their first line, especially if it was a quote. A lot of times they would center the quote. I don't know. So it's not like that. It's very, very standard. Okay, everything is the same. We just indent the first word of every paragraph to let your reader know that you're having a new paragraph. So in a word, your paper kind of needs to look boring. It's going to be very uniform and very concise. Okay? And if you're not sure, you can send me some copies. And when you do send me a rough draft, I will point out, hey, you know what? Your title needs to be centered. Your label needs to be on this side. So if you're not sure, I'll tell you how to fix it. All right, guys, thank you so much. Super simple, hopefully, and I will see you later.